Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at AmericanExpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Netflix has a flaming log channel, so I feel okay. Next time
there's
we're
no
on,
barbecued goods at the end of it, though.
next time we're on, I'm gonna
meat cook.
nominate the Yule log channel.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher podcast. Today we are joined by Zack,
Hello.
Liz,
Hello.
and Helen,
Hello.
as always, and we're going to be talking about the Monty Python classic film, The Life of Brian.
Thank you, as always, to the mighty people for the mighty, mighty tunes. And thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills.
Please do remember to write a review and rate us on Apple Podcasts and anywhere you can do where you listen to the podcast, because it really does help us.
And you can join in the conversation with us on Twitter
At FlixWatcherPod and on Instagram
at Flixwatcher. Hello, film fans. Thanks for listening today. In our studio, our guests are Liz and Zack. If you would like to introduce yourselves to the listeners and tell them a little bit more about the podcast work you do.
Hi, I'm Liz Campbell. I work on a couple of podcasts. I'm the production manager for Wooden Overcoats, which is a podcast that I'm sure your regular listeners will know very well.
Yeah, we've had a fair few of you Wooden Overcoats people.
There's a lot of us.
Yeah.
We get around. I'm also the business manager for a podcast called Victoriosity. And I've currently started as a voice actor in a new space audio drama called No Space for Heroes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
one.
this is fresh.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Are you going to be enjoying the voice cast at all, even just in a cameo role on Victoriosity and
I
Wooden
will
Overcoats?
keep shouting from the background until
Sure.
they stop editing me out. One day.
And who are you, good sir?
I am the creator, writer, director, person behind the Orphans podcast, which is a science fiction audio drama. First season's about a group of people that crash land on an alien planet with no idea who they are or how they got there, and they need to figure that out. Later series star Flixwatcher regulars Felix, Trench, and Beth Eyre. So there we are.
Cross-pod pollination all
Yeah,
around.
Indeed.
I'm also the producer for Felix Trench's show Quid Pro Euro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about the kind of story and the nooks of the Orphans.
Oh, you've opened a can of worms, sir. No, it's a large, expansive universe. Kind of the large overarching thing is it's a galaxy caught in a civil war, trying to fight for what is essentially clone rights. And the series chronicles the fight for their the gaining of their rights and the twists and turns that ensue from that, and our characters' attempts to thwart evil in all its forms.
So you guys are both involved, well, Wooden Overcoats and the Orphans audio dramas. You guys are doing the hardest kind of podcast.
Yeah, because we're just basically making them each time and it happens. And with you, have you got like series and series written out, or is it just kind of like, we'll see if we can make it through this one and get that? I don't know. How does it work?
Series at a time is certainly the way that we're operating. I think it goes. I mean, I know Zach's got 6 seasons in a movie in his head for the Orphans.
Well, on top of what we've already released, I'm currently in production on one series. We are developing another, and then we have another one in development as well, and we have several more planned after that. We've got a lot of story to tell.
It's ongoing.
Yes, ongoing, but it is a finite arc that will end. We do know where that ends, but it's just a long journey.
So you're not like lost?
No, well, that was kind of our mission statement is like, don't be lost,
Have an idea where you're finishing. So, Liz, you're the one that chose Life of Brian.
I did.
Can you tell us, first of all, why you chose it and give us a 2-minute synopsis?
Right. Why I chose it. I think it's the best Monty Python movie. I think it stands up really quite well despite being 40 years old as of this year. I think it's a delightful mix between kind of more absurdist and sketch comedy and also some really good satire that again still holds up. And because I've got Zack here, I figured who better than two North Americans to come and educate you British people.
I mean, that's what we like to do, isn't
Monty
it?
Python, yeah.
Yeah, you've come here just to impart your wisdom that no one wants
exactly
from you guys.
What we're good at.
Well, we're just giving back colonialism, really.
Yeah.
Explaining it to you. So, 2-minute synopsis. It's a movie about a man called Brian, who is a very normal man who happened to be born in, I guess, 0 AD, down the street from what seems to be in the movie actual Jesus. Brian is not Jesus, which is, I think, a crucial point that got lost in a lot of censors' history. But he grows up and lives a very normal life until he is mistaken for the Messiah. In the movie, he also becomes involved in a political movement against the Romans. And it ends with a musical number in a crucifixion site. So
happy times.
Yeah. Helen, what are your thoughts on the Life of Brian?
So, I've seen this before, but I think I always preferred the Holy Grail anyway, and I found this a little bit painful rewatching.
I'm really glad I'm not the only one.
And I think what I remember about the Life of Brian, like the bits that it's famous for, is more enjoyable than the film. I think it was very, very much of its time, and what they were doing at the time was, pretty out there and pretty wacky. But with my 2019 eyes on, I find it a bit painful. Sorry, Liz.
That's all right. I didn't make it.
Yep. I thought you don't need to apologize to Liz.
Yeah, you've personally offended her now.
Yeah. We'll never talk again.
You won't come to a wedding.
Podcast is over.
And there's a couple of things that I've completely forgotten about it. Like, there's a scene in it with aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck? What's going on there?
I'm incorrect.
Did you research that bit at all? Or?
No, I just, on my notes, I've written aliens, WTF. I mean, I guess that was, I don't know, Terry Gillingham's
Gilliam.
thing?
Oh, gosh, Gilliam.
Probably.
Well, was it? Oh, gosh, Gilliam. He's North American. You should be defending him.
He is.
Is he American or Canadian?
American.
I think American. Yeah. I really dislike Terry Gilliam's films.
Really?
Yeah, I really do. Like, I've liked one of them, and that is Zero Theorem, and that is the only one I have actively enjoyed. Every other one has been it has been painful for me to watch.
Was that the most recent one before Don Quixote?
Yes. Yeah.
I liked 12 Monkeys, and I enjoyed watching the documentary for Don Quixote, Lost in La Mancha. But that's quite good if you don't like him, because it's quite painful, his experience.
That sounds cathartic.
What, you like the idea of seeing him going through pain?
Yeah. No, that's horrible, yes.
No, he is definitely, I think, one of the more absurdist of the Pythons. It was him and Eric Idle who did a lot of, there was kind of writing pairs, and they were often the pair, and they're often responsible for a lot of the more absurdist kind of Python humor. The animations in Flying Circus are, of course, his doing, and I admit those were always the point I turned off my TV when I was watching old episodes of Flying Circus, because they were a bit out there for me.
They don't really fit with the other humor and the other ideas that everyone else is bringing, and you kind of think, is he just like join the group and they just can't get rid of him, and they're just like, oh, we'll just let him get on with it.
Hanger on.
Get on with it.
Just doing his moving pictures.
See, the thing is, I both agree, but I think one of the things that I think I would defend in Life and Brian is that I think it's got in my opinion, nice mix of humor. So there are those kind of absurd bits that just don't really make any sense. They're just silly for silliness. There are a number of quite good just sketches, just, the stoning scene is a great one, where they're just, there's no real message or anything, but they're just funny kind of what if scenarios. And there's also some very good satire with both the religious angle and the political angle. So, and the movie I find actually moves along at quite a clip. So if you don't like this scene, don't worry, in about a minute there'll be a completely different kind of scene. So I would say that is a benefit of this film in particular. I think they did that bounce really well.
I think part of the reason why I wasn't as entertained by it was because I think I was expecting more of a narrative than there is in this. Like,
good Lord, don't watch any other.
Yeah, well, I think yes. I came in with the expectation that this would be a movie about a man mistaken to be the Messiah. I expected more connection with the actual Jesus than there was. I expected kind of there to be more. I expected it to make more sense. I think I went into this perhaps with incorrect expectations for what I was expecting. But yeah, similar to you, like looking at it, because I've never seen this film before, and looking at it with kind of current eyes, I can see how this was incredibly funny, very popular in 1979. And nowadays, I think so many people have taken inspiration from the Pythons and have taken similar setups to what they have and twisted it and turned it, and it's been filtered through so many generations of comedians that what I'm anticipating for comedy is not what they're giving, because I'm from a completely different time and I'm expecting their stuff filtered through other people.
I'm on more on Helen's side. I really, really love Holy Grail. I really liked it. I remember the first time I saw it, it's just like, I think it was the other, I don't know, myself and Helen grew up in the 80s. I don't know how old you guys are, but having the VHS tapes, and someone would just give you a tape, but they've recorded like 2 films on, and the first one wasn't The Life of Brian, and it just went into the life. The first one wasn't The Holy Grail, and then the second film was just this film, The Holy Grail, and I just started watching it. I remember being like, this is brilliant. This is absolutely, right from the start, they're pretending they're on horseback. And that had me from the start, just like straight out and out silly. The Life of Brian, I agree with you, Liz, in terms of, it's probably the best film in terms of more cohesive, coherent kind of narrative. But it just wasn't as fun for me watching it all the way through. And I think you kind of divided when you hear people talking about the Pythons, which is the better film. I think The Meaning of Life is, everyone's kind of the one that
that one's not. You want to talk about coherence? That one is not. Don't watch it, Zach. You'll hate it.
But then you get people who are all about it's always a toss up between Life of Brian and Holy Grail, and it depends whether you like the more coherent story or if you like the just more out and out funny sketches that happen in The Meaning of in the Holy Grail. And for me, I'm a Holy Grail guy. When it comes to actual Pythons itself, I love so many of the sketches, but if I actually I can't actually really watch one episode, because there's like maybe one sketch which is brilliant and the rest of it is just nonsense. So the Holy Grail,
agreed.
Yeah,
fully agreed.
Yeah, and the Pythons seem to travel really well, and that's the thing I think that's gives it the most longevity. I was living in Norway for 3 years, and they all loved Monty Python. They knew like the Philosopher's Song off by heart, and it's just like, who are you? These people younger than me who knew the Philosopher's Song with the footballs and like literally everything from Monty Python. And you often hear Python quoted as the heroes behind a lot of comedians in America. But I'm not sure people of our age really hit it that well. But I think everyone appreciates the Pythons and everyone loves a lot of the sketches.
Thank you for everything you've done.
Yeah.
But please stop talking now.
Thank you for your service. Goodbye.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they probably really benefited from the fact that, their original broadcast was at a time where there wasn't a lot of rewatchability in the same way we have now. And that's why, I mean, it's true that I knew the Pythons long before I kind of really got to watch the episodes, and you saw sketches here and there, or you heard them quoted, and all the best bits are obviously the stuff that remains. But if you actually sit and watch all episodes of Flying Circus, there's a lot of just bad in there, but there's also moments of brilliance, and those have persisted, as well they should. But I can't argue on that point really. And this is it. And I think that that was early 70s. This was by the time they made Life of Brian, they had already graduated from that. They were off doing
they'd all but disbanded, really, hadn't they?
Yeah, John Cleese had already he'd just done Fawlty Towers,
right? So
he had his own baby going on. Terry Gilliam had started making his own films, things like that, and this was a kind of reunion.
Michael Palin started to go around the world.
I don't think he'd started quite yet.
Still going. Can't stop him.
He never stopped moving.
Circles and circles over and over. Yeah.
One thing I was going to say about this, I mean, is very much of its time. I mean, most of this film, the enjoyment you will get is if you find men speaking in silly women's accents funny.
Oh yeah.
Then you will love that. And people still do find men impersonating women absolutely hilarious. I mean, just look at that monstrosity that is Mrs. Brown.
Don't make me remember.
With respect, I think that's a very British thing. I think it's a panto thing.
Irish thing. Irish.
All right.
But it's
blame the Irish. I don't know. Yeah.
Still, that is for some people the pinnacle of comedy. A man pretending to be a woman, and if that is your thing, then this at the time in the 70s, that was probably kind of what the thing was, and a lot of people find it funny, and it's kind of also a quite a teenage boy thing, isn't it? Like, what's a man?
Yeah.
And
things like Biggus Dickus. If you're a 12-year-old boy, it's the funniest thing in the world.
Agreed. Those scenes are a bit.
I still find that quite funny.
I mean, I would say with Terry Jones though playing the mum. I would argue that there is more comedy to that performance than just
putting on a woman's
voice.
Yeah.
I think that it's a defined character, and that was very much what the Pythons did, which is doing all the roles. I am with you on the whole. It's not in itself funny right now. But
I really I think I wrote in my notes, this movie can be boiled down to one exchange, which is, think of the birds. What about the birds? Do you have something against the birds? That's all that this movie was, is just people exasperatedly yelling at someone else because they didn't understand what they said.
Right. Okay. Well, then, okay. In which case, so the bits that I think really stood out for me, the reason I think that it is still relevant and still worthwhile is the satirical element to it. Biggest Dickus jokes in many ways are available for all time. Now those never die, but that can be done anywhere. But I think the satire of both organized religion and the political scene is. Maybe at this point it seems hackneyed because we're so familiar with it, but it's what did the Romans ever do for us is a brilliant scene. It's very simple, and that phrase, what the Romans have done for us, remains the definitive, statement that talking about nuance and dogmatism, and that not only was reflective of very much a 1979 Britain. But I think, to be honest, right now we have quite a lot to do. We have quite a lot in common with the 1979 Britain. And I think that this really did distill some wonderful satire that remains with us today. And I give it real points for that. And I think the staying power of that is worth noting.
I think that's fair, but I do think there are people who have done it in a more relevant way to us since.
Such as?
Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
South Park.
Book of Mormon.
I think I'm one of the few people that did not get on at all with Book of Mormon.
Fair.
I wonder how well that has aged as well, because I probably
seen it
saw
very
it
recently.
About 15 years ago.
Fine.
I don't know. I still have problems with in the Book of Mormon. There's just the kind of undercurrent for me that I didn't like was that it seemed kind of just lazy, because a lot of it was taking the mick out of this woman's name, for example, and calling that kind of thing. It's just guys, come on, I've seen you do better.
Biggest dickers.
Yeah, the biggest dickers kind of thing. But pretending that, I can't remember what the character's name was in Book of Mormon, but pretending they couldn't remember her name each time was just like, against, these Western church coming over to sanitize an African tribe, and you're being derogatory by not being able to remember this person's name. The whole kind of subtext of homosexuality of being like a big storyline for one person, kind of taken for that religion in the way they do. I just felt it just was, for me, it was just kind of misjudged.
That's
a lot
fair.
Of it,
yeah. I do think with Book of Mormon, I think to some extent that is the point of it. Like that, like it's totally fair. Like I think they wanted to do something so larger than life, so extraordinarily above and beyond what is factual in the interactions, to better be able to take the piss out of the Mormon church and take the piss out of their views on homosexuality and their views on the people who they're going to
quote unquote save.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think that joke in itself, I don't think it's funny because he can't remember her name. I think it's funny because he doesn't understand what he's trying to do, if that makes sense. He doesn't understand the nuance of what he's getting himself into. And I think that, for me anyways, when I hear that joke, that is what the joke is that he is a child serving a larger organization.
We're making fun of him, not the person whose name is forgotten.
Yeah.
But it is Life of Brian. Everything you're saying here is Life of Brian.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that I think the humor introduced here has been filtered through so many other writers and been presented to me in so many other ways that seeing this feels like almost a simpler version of things I felt I've seen better.
It is a genesis, and I think I that is why I have a lot of respect for it, because I do think that Book of Mormon would not exist. And when you think of not just it as a film, but the history behind both having it made and, of course, all the political fallouts and religious fallout that came after, they fought battles that did change the sphere of political satire, and allowed things like that to happen. So it's one of the reasons I chose this movie is also because of that. I think it's it's historically important movie,
and it's provocative as well. I mean, the conversation that we're having now, like imagine what it was like when this film came out, when the church was still popular, and they made this and they didn't get the joke or what it was about, which obviously is what the film is about. But they got a lot of hate for it.
Yeah. And I think, there's a famous clip I've seen of John Cleese on a talk show when he's defending John Cleese and I can't remember
Michael Palin.
Was it, defending Life of Brian against a member of the clergy,
Bishop of Suffolk and Malcolm Mugcliffe, I believe. Mugridge. That's it. I knew there was
done some research.
Cliff edge on there.
And I think they were the main defense, and it does stand true, is like they're not taking the mick out of Jesus. They're taking a sideways glance at organized religion and people's willingness to wantonly believe everything or requiring some kind of messianistic character or person to lead you, when that's debatable whether you need to do that or not. And that's what Life of Brian kind of pokes fun at. Jesus is still there. People are still following him. There's still, the meek.
Yes.
Still the meek are there.
That's something I enjoyed is the meek. It's been so hard on them.
Yeah, good for them. That's nice.
That really did. That was the one of the couple times that I openly guffawed in the movie.
Success.
I do generally like the thing about the Pythons. I do like, and when they reformed and did the show in London, I did go to see them go too, because they are still some of the pioneers in sketch comedy generally in the UK. But they do the really kind of lowbrow stuff with the biggest dickus, but then they also do stuff which is like, how the fuck did you even come up with that idea? And for me, my favorite joke in this, aside from what the Romans ever do for us, I think that's my second favorite, but my favorite is the conjugating of the Romans go home on the wall.
Yeah.
For me, that's, as a kid, the first time I saw it, I wouldn't have understood that at all. But now, I don't know, now I understand grammar better. That joke for me, I think it's just purely how have you done that, And have you put it together? Have you made people explain how conjugation works? Have you made people explain Latin? Make it funny, and then also present it in this way on the screen. And that's the kind of thing they can do. They can do the biggest dickus and conjugate Latin in the same film, and then put aliens in it, which is
yes,
yeah. And then thinking about like its legacy. Eddie Izzard would never have the kind of cake or death joke without the crucifixion joke. And also interesting for a film made in the 70s, given sort of the backdrop, there is male nudity.
Yep.
Which is, we don't really see much of that. Fair play.
I can't tell if you're like, no, I would be like more of that, but actually less of that. Could we in fact have none of that?
But then, it's pretty much always women like having to get naked in film. It's like, oh, here we go.
I think that's the thing. I mean, when one of the main comments levied at like Game of Thrones at the start was not the fact there's nudity and sex in it. It's more the fact that it was 99% women that were naked and like showing their parts, but like very little men. And I think that's completely fair. If you're going to show sex and stuff, make it fair on both sides, and and then you're all equally happy or equally outraged.
Apparently, when they were filming that scene, they didn't tell all the extras that Graham Chapman was going to turn up naked, and they were, it was Tunisia, I think they ended up filming in, and obviously most of the extras were devout Muslims who were just hanging around and suddenly got a full-on view of Graham Chapman.
Oh no.
Surprise.
But also you have the full rear-roll, full back-roll of the character in the hole.
Yep, that was also bracing.
Oh God. And you ever wonder why we don't have as much male nudity?
Maybe it's just because it's like, oh, it's a bit sad, isn't it? It's a bit sad.
I do think it does have to do though with, I think it's the lack of wanting to show genitals with the nudity. It's easier with the nudity in the female regard, it'd be nudity rather than just a man being topless. Do you know, if we count it that way? Not that I don't think that it's not reasonable and fair, but I think it's easier with a female form to do nudity on television without without showing genitals.
And it's certainly clear. I mean, I think it's obvious in all of those scenes with the dangly bits and all, they're not doing this for titillation. They're doing this for sheer absurd comedy
and historical accuracy.
Accuracy. I mean, this is it. There is something very funny about the new Messiah just opening the window, just stark bollock naked to his devotees. Yeah.
On that, guys, should we head to the scores?
The Apple Watch Series 10 is here. It has the biggest display ever. It's also the thinnest Apple Watch ever, making it even more comfortable on your wrist, whether you're running, swimming, or sleeping. And it's the fastest charging Apple Watch, getting you 8 hours of charge in just 15 minutes. The Apple Watch Series 10, available for the first time in glossy jet black aluminum. Compared to previous generations, iPhone XS or later required. Charge time and actual results will vary.
Welcome to the spreadsheet of dreams. Wonderful reaction there. Thank you. All of the scores are out of 5. You may have a decimal place is, and we will start with you, Liz, because you brought it to the table with the recommendability score, please.
I think I would give it a 4. I think that obviously this group aside, but I think even people who aren't necessarily the biggest Monty Python fans could find something in this. It's not for everyone, but I think it's worth giving a go because of its importance.
Zach?
You know what? With recommendability, because again, it is a very significant film, and I don't want to take that away from it. I don't think I could personally give it a wholehearted recommendation on my enjoyment, but for seeing it as a part of film history and comedy history, I think I'd give it a 3.
Yeah, so I think...
Like I say, you can go to decimal places if you feel you want to moderate that a little bit.
No, hard 4. Don't need it.
I think we're decisive individuals.
Sure.
It's a really interesting one because I think anyone who's probably maybe a little bit younger than us who's never seen this before, towards the end, some of the humour kind of relies on deaf people not being able to hear and kind of people being a bit crazy. And I think by that point, I just kind of maybe had forgotten all of that and gone, this is a little bit too much. So it is kind of hard to balance the historical importance and, those few moments of like real brilliance with the fact that it really hasn't aged that well. And if you're coming at it without ever seeing anything from the Pythons, then I think you'll probably really, really struggle with it, because if you don't know anything about it, then without having the historical importance or without seeing how it's influenced, it could be, you just be like, who are these horrible people? Why are they shouting and just being not very funny? So I'm gonna go with Zack, and I'm gonna go for a 3 on that one.
Rebel.
I noticed that you're the only one with decimal places.
I like it. I like a decimal
not
here
always.
Yeah, you're comparing with the previous episode record. Let's just line up the spreadsheet so you can't see what
Sketchy.
else. Yeah. I think you'd have to say, if someone said, should I watch Life of Brian? I'd say, have you watched Holy Grail first? And if you haven't watched that, I'd say that's the one you want to watch first. And if you really like that, then go into Life of Brian. If someone hadn't seen that, but then if they had seen Holy Grail, I'd say, yeah, watch it. It's different. You might prefer it. I do think it still has, I think it's aged in as well as it could do in terms of how it was shot, and there's some bits that are a bit random and dumb. I think the alien bit is the worst, which still makes no sense.
They could easily cut that
in
like a reissue.
Yeah.
But it's a 20-second sequence. Some people like it. I don't
20 seconds can make and break a film.
I
Liz.
don't mind it.
So I think the rest of how I feel about it will play out in the rest of the scores.
Okay.
Yeah. Repeat viewing score. Liz.
I mean, I've seen it many times. I expect I will see it again. I'm not going to watch it again next week, but I feel this is something that will come back around in my life. So 5, to be honest. Like it's out of all the movies, I will see this again.
Zach.
I'm gonna go completely the opposite. I'm gonna go 0. Am I allowed to do 0?
You can do zeros.
Yep. No,
0.
No minuses though, I'm afraid.
That's fine.
Glad I went high.
I never want to see this movie again.
Have you seen this before?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen it before. I don't ever want to watch it again. I'm glad I've seen it for historical posterity. And that is the total amount of interaction I want to have with this movie.
Were you aware that it existed?
Yes, I was aware of it existed. I was aware of some of the ongoing jokes in it. I was aware of gags. I was familiar with the material. I just never sat down and said, I'm going to watch Life of Brian. And I'm glad I did. And I will never again.
Have you seen Holy Grail?
I haven't.
Okay.
I've only of Python. Other than this, I've seen clips of their sketches, and I've seen some of Fawlty Towers. Obviously, that's not Python, and some of their ancillary work. Yeah, I think
Fawlty Towers is the peak of the Python crew. Fawlty Towers is like literally sublime,
masterpiece.
Yeah, yes. I really enjoyed it.
I would recommend that you see Holy Grail.
Yes,
yeah, it's just really silly.
Yeah.
It's worth a try for sure.
Helen.
So repeat viewing. So I think I must have seen like Holy Grail maybe as a teenager, and then be like, oh, I must see Life of Brian, because if it's anything like Holy Grail, then it's going to be amazing. And then watched it and was like, oh, I didn't really like that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm not clever enough to get their jokes or something. And I don't think, it wasn't until rewatching it for this, I've seen it again. And when I got the message through that it was Life of Brian, I was like, oh, cool. I've not seen that in a while. Quite looking forward to it. And then I was a bit like, oh, oh dear.
Just ruined everyone's day. I'm so sorry.
No, it was just, I just really struggled with it second time round. So yeah, a 1. I'm probably not going to go back to this one again.
I'm going to say a 2, 2.1, 1.9. 1.9.
Sorry, Liz. Oh.
I rewatched this maybe about 6 months ago when I saw it came to Netflix, and it's one of those ones where I kind of thought, everyone says it. A lot of people say this is the better film. Let me rewatch it because maybe there's stuff I didn't understand, and I think, and they were right. You know, structurally, it's a more cohesive story, but it's just not as funny for me. And I think it's just by comparison. You know, there can be X funny, but this is like X minus like 5.
Sure.
And I asked my wife if she wants to watch this, and she's like, I don't think so. And I think that's what I'll be like. I'll be like, should I watch Life of Brian? And I'm like, in the future, I'll be like, there's probably other things I probably prefer to watch right now. So I probably will watch it again, but I can't imagine what kind of scenario that'll be. Maybe I'll watch Holy Grail and then think, yeah, let's just pop on Life of Brian as a like a double bill to round it out.
Maybe if you have to do some babysitting for teenage boys or something.
No, but I wouldn't put this on for someone for silly teenage boys. I don't think it's that silly.
It's quite silly though.
It's got silly bits, but I don't think it's like the Romans go home bit. I don't. When I was like I say, I saw it as like a 17-year-old, just thought, what is going on here? This makes no sense. And the concepts I think are a bit bigger than for a teenage boy. Obviously, there's the biggest difference. The biggest dick is there's nudity, but I think go and watch South Park the movie if you want to give teenage boys a film to watch that's of their kind of ilk. Small screen score.
I don't think I've ever seen this on anything but a small screen, to be honest.
Do you feel you're missing out on that experience?
I think it's got some. I mean, it's not a big visual action movie. It's got some. It's got
what about
some
the
nice
alien special effects.
Oh,
with
it's A+.
the eyeball in the marigold glove.
It was. Oh dear.
Your favorite scene.
Yeah, my favorite one. Well, it is a. Terry Gilliam was the visual director, and they didn't actually let him do the directing, which I think is possibly...
Was it Terry Jones that directed
Terry Jones, yeah, other Terry did it, which I think was the right division of labor. It's got some nice visuals, but I think it's perfectly good on a TV, so...
So you said your favourite Terry Gilliam film was 12 Monkeys?
Yes.
I think mine was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, I forgot he did that.
Yeah.
That was good.
I think he has got a style. He's got, you can kind of see, Baron Munchausen, Jabberwocky, Brazil. He's got a thing. The Imaginary Dr. Parnassus is like.
Yeah.
So I'm actually quite interested to see what's Le Man from La Mancha film.
Don Quixote.
I'm actually interested to see what that's going to look like because that should not be really.
But it's basically an unfilmable novel. I mean, if you've seen the size of it.
But it's not got the fantastical nature that Terry Gilliam can throw at any of his films. It's set it's a period film, isn't it? So I'll be quite interested to see how if he does temper himself in that.
It's taken him like 20 years to make it. It should be good.
Yeah, but my point is, how is it going to be? How can he use his flair? And
no idea. It's probably going to be awful.
It's also taken
really
James
long.
Cameron 10 years to make an Avatar 2. Are we saying that's going to be good?
No.
Nope.
There we are.
The sequel, no one asked for.
Except for the people who paid 2 points.
So, what was your small screen score?
I mean, I think I give it quite high. I think it works 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Zach.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it for a small screen. I mean, I'm not missing anything. I don't feel a call for a larger screen on this. It'd be nice.
Even bigger naked Graham Chapman.
Yeah, you can see bigger dicks,
Yeah.
biggest
dickuses.
yeah. I don't think that it really needs anything. So I guess for that reason, 4. I maybe
You're just trying to knock it down. Don't stop there. 4.
No. I'm trying to justify. Yeah, I'm trying to justify not giving it a 5, really, because I feel like if there's nothing missing, what's the point of it being a 4?
So you've just knocked him down from going to a 5. Helen.
Don't be too disappointed because I'm going to give it a 5. I did the ultimate sin and I watched this on my phone and it was fine on the phone. I just quite recommend.
You clearly enjoyed it. So,
The smallest stickers.
I mean, there isn't, unless you are the kind of person who would like to go for kind of a quote along thing at the cinema, it just lends itself to being watched at home, maybe like with a couple of people, and it is on Netflix. I think you've said it's only been on for the last 6 months or so or something.
I don't know. I saw it once.
And
I don't know if it's happened live or Brian.
One of those things that when I was trying to watch all the films that I could from the 70s, like in my 20s, to get like a history, it was kind of hard to come across films if you didn't have a VHS of it or then a DVD. You'd either have to buy it or like wait for Channel 4 to be on or something like that. So if you haven't seen it and you're kind of curious, it is on Netflix, and I think the Holy Grail's on there as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it on there?
So.
Yeah. They've got loads of I think everything.
Should have chosen that one. What have I done?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's great that Netflix have got their back catalogue on there, and you can watch that at your leisure.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, though.
So you're saying 5?
Yeah.
I think if I had to justify my lack of a point, is that I would really like to watch this in a big cinema full of people who really enjoy it.
Yeah,
that would be
I'm sure
cool.
it's played at the Prince Charles.
Yeah, it must do. And it does have, things. There's a certain type of humour that people love where they can join in and they can say the lines, and that's part of the experience watching it. And that if that is your thing, then, this is a film that a lot of people like.
Engagement score. So I'm going for a 5 as well. Not really asked about seeing on the big screen. Liz.
Engagement. I mean, I happily watch it through. It is, to be honest, though, more often shared in bits, isn't it? So if I think about it, to be honest, I think engagement's actually quite low, just because in many ways it works as a bitty film.
So
They're sketches, aren't they?
They're sketches.
That they essentially got enough money together to do them all in one go and kind of have a little bit of a story.
Do you know who funded this?
Oh, it was one of the Beatles, wasn't it?
George Harrison. Handmade films. This is the first film he made, and Eric Idle said, well, George Harrison funded it because he said, I just wanted to see him get made. And then there's a very famous quote by Eric Idle saying he's paid the world's most expensive cinema ticket just to get this one film made, which is true. And I think he's made a few more films.
Handmade made a bunch of their final picture. Finally, Nuns on the Run with Eric Idle and Robbie Coltrane. This is it. I mean, if just a small historical footnote. What's interesting also about this is that it spawned that, and that production company made a lot of
decent films.
British independent comedies that would never otherwise have been made.
So it's like a proto like Netflix where they go, hey, here's some money. And also with someone like George Harrison who would not have given a flying fuck what they would do. Just like, you've got the money, make the film.
Go make a thing.
Yeah.
And
we need more producers like that in the world.
We need more, roaming Beatles with money.
Yeah, if we could just get more like million billionaires that don't really care what they're doing with their money to just set up some funds.
With Nail and I.
With Nail and I, yeah.
There'd be no With Nail and I without that.
Indeed.
So engagement.
I think I'm going to go right in the middle and give it a 2.5 because I think it does work. Again, it's the best Python film in terms of overall plot, but I do think that it can easily be watched in chunks.
Zach.
I had to watch this film in 3 sittings. I started it, got about 10 minutes in, was like, nope, and then turned on Stranger Things. I sat down, watched another half hour, went, I can't do any more, put on Stranger Things, and then finally I finished the film. So for that reason, I'm going to be giving this a 1.5 engagement.
I think this is a fair point that I don't think we really talked about with showing films on Netflix and the engagement score is that it is really easy to dive out and watch something else.
Yeah.
In the land of not many DVDs in your house and not many VHSs, you literally were like, I've only got
you've
like
lost
5
the
more.
remote.
Yes.
I've got 5 other
where's
options.
the remote?
Yeah.
So I'm going to just stick and watch this because I've started it. But with Netflix, you've got like all the films.
Yeah.
So if you're not that interested, you kind of think, well, I'm actually not going to do this anymore. And and Stranger Things just come out.
Yep.
Which is competing for your attention. So it's like
new season of Queer Eye. I mean, what are we doing with our time?
I need to catch up with Queer Eye.
Helen, sorry, what's your engagement score?
It was 1.5.
1.5. Helen.
Yeah, I really struggled watching this. It didn't help that I watched half of it. Well, I watched most of it on the train and then knew I had to come back, and I had a barbecue going at the same time, and I was just kind of like, just watching the flames. Oh, I've got to go back to the film. So the watching the barbecue flames was competing with me watching it.
Don't barbecue and watch Netflix, guys.
I love that literally watching Flame was more compelling to you than watching this movie.
Netflix has a flaming log channel, so I feel Okay, next time
There's
we're
no
on.
barbecued goods at the end of it, though.
Next time we're on, I'm going to
meat cook.
nominate the Yule Log channel.
It's an hour and 34 minutes, which I think is probably 20 minutes a bit too long for it. I think, an hour is probably as much as I could probably take.
But then it's not a feature.
I know, but
we get features at 60 minutes. Life is a Courgette was 61 minutes.
Really? I think. But I mean, if we're talking about distribution and being able to get into cinemas, you couldn't get. I don't think you could get a film in today that was under 90 minutes.
Well, like my son, Life is a Courgette came out 2 years ago. 60-minute film.
What We Do in the Shadows was 86 minutes.
I think
60 minutes is one episode of Stranger Things.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like I think
put some effort into it.
There are outliers. I think for the vast majority, I think you'd struggle. And like 86 minutes.
I'll go with Zach on this one. I'll go for 1.5 as well.
I'm going to go for. I'm going a bit higher than you actually. I'm going to go for 3 because I think with each successive watch, I've gained more out of it.
Really?
Yeah. Like I said, when I first watched it as a kid, nowhere near as silly as Life as Holy Grail, so it kind of disengaged me. But on subsequent watches, when you understand more about the world, when you get more to then it's like, oh, okay, oh, that's what they're doing. Yeah. Oh, I see, nice. So if I do watch it, I'll be watching it, to get more out of it. But that's it. So that gives us an overall score of 3.01250.
That still made a 3. Yeah. That's pretty decent.
So at this point, guys, we'll go to our comments on Twitter. Our Twitter fans, we always reach out to them before we record and say, in this case, we're reviewing The Life of Brian with Liz from Wooden Overcoats and Zack FG from Orphans Audio. Tell us give us a short review and a rating out of 5 stars. Liz, would you take us with the first one?
Right. This is from IWYTWT.
That's I want you to watch this.
Oh yes, yep. Everyone's got sarcastic cats memes as their Twitter handles now, so you never know what someone's actual name is. And it says, we covered this not too long ago. It was my first time seeing it. I could see it being great for its time, or maybe if I'd seen it as a kid/teen, but there's a lot that I don't think holds up all that well. 3 stars for me, Craig.
Zach, do you want to say the next one, please?
Yeah, so Mike Marlowe at Mikey Geek said 5 stars, but I'm totally biased. Huge Python fan. Every bit the equal of Holy Grail, though not as popular. Witty, zany, and absurd all at the same time. Cleese as a Roman soldier, conjugating graffiti. Said.
It's still I think it's a great juxtaposition.
Scene,
Helen, do you want to take this one started from here?
Yeah, so this is from the Casual Birder podcast. This is a film I really enjoyed seeing at the cinema and even had the vinyl soundtrack. I'm known to quote vast chunks of the film, to everyone's annoyance, I'm sure. I'm not actually a big Monty Python fan, but I think there are a lot of moments that I think stand up really well. Fave scenes include pretty much all with Michael Palin in. What's so funny about Biggest Dickus? But there are also parts that are definitely dated and are awkward now to watch. I never did get the spaceship section. I give it 4 out of 5 stars.
Nice. So I think that seems to do very well on Twitter.
If you're a Python fan and you've grown up with the film and you love the film, then it's something that you just hold really, really dear for you. But I think if you've not had that initial kind of love quite early on, it's not quite as easy to get into.
Yeah. Okay, Liz and Zach, can you tell us where we can find you online and also say bye to Jasper and whoever else is listening?
I can be found on Twitter at Liz X Campbell, just Liz and the letter X Campbell, because that was the closest I could get to my actual name as a handle. Extreme? I'm so extreme.
Great. Follow Liz for extreme tweets.
So extreme. It's mostly about podcasts. And yes, well, thank you very much for listening. I hope you listeners enjoyed Life of Brian a bit more than these people I forced it on.
You can find me at Zack FG on Twitter, and you can follow my show, The Orphans, at Orphans Audio on Twitter. We're pretty much I'm by Zack FG and Orphans Audio everywhere online, so that's cool. Yes, thank you for listening, and I'm really sorry if you're a big Python fan and I've shit all over something you love. I'm sure that's not a great feeling, but I'm happy for you.
That's what we want. Yes. That's what we want. Okay. Well, cheers, guys. Thanks for coming on board.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. See you later.
Bye.
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 Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes, and Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Ben, and that's Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.